There go the sheep that have been hanging out for the last half hour or so. Heading back up the mountain. I guess they all got their fill, they got their drink, they drank out of the spring, they drank out of the river. Pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah, this is my happy place for sure. The river, living near the mountains, in the mountains of northern New Mexico, and we're blessed. There are several rivers around us, including this one's the big one, the Rio Grande, which translates in Spanish to big river. Language is funny sometimes, but yeah, coming down to my happy place, helping to ground the energies, thinking about different things. Yeah, I've talked a little bit in a couple of interviews that I've done a little bit about in this last year how I've recovered memories. I've been recovering memories, not a whole lot of them, but there's several, out of an experience that is commonly referred to as the SSP, the Secret Space Program. You ever heard of the Secret Space Program? Yeah, I don't even know what the algorithm rules are to talk about these things, whether or not it gets flagged or shadow banned for sure. But yeah, they're out of sight. They moved up and out of the canyon, or well, at least away from the river. So the Secret Space Program is what it sounds like. It is a program that is operated in space, but is secret. This is, don't need to really get into the history or anything of this, but these are like programs that go back really to the very beginning in the United States of when the craft recoveries were beginning in earnest in the 1940s, perhaps as a result of Valiant Thor and his communication with the United States government. President Eisenhower's administration and the National Security Council rejected Valiant Thor's offer of a peaceful transition globally into a moneyless society with free energy and incredible technology, but no more nuclear weapons. And the U.S. Security Council and the Majestic 12 program said, nope, we not gonna give up our nukes. Anyhow, out of that era, and with the, these classified developments of private companies, in today's parlance, that would be Raytheon and Boeing and General Dynamics. And oh, there's an otter. Oh my goodness, there's an otter swimming across the river. He just submerged. Oh, that was so cool. What is it with the wildlife today? Oh my God. Seriously, when I saw that, all I could see was its head and its long body, and I was like, is that an anaconda? I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. We don't have any snakes like that would be swimming in the water, but it was an otter. It's a river otter. Where did he go? Yeah, they've reintroduced otters down here. They were hunted and trapped, I think, a lot for their fur, but that was very cool. I love the otters. They're so cute. Anyhow, these these corporations combined with black ops, black budget, deep state controlled factions that have sequestered all of the technology, and they built out fleets in space. This was a whistleblower named Gary McKinnon, a British guy, ended up hacking into the Department of Defense, and found pay information like pay stubs or something for a program being operated called Solar Warden. That is the Solar Warden. What would that be? Like a warden. What's a warden do? A warden is like law enforcement and like protection. And Solar Warden would mean law enforcement for our solar system. So there are many of these programs. Anyhow, there's a whole revelation that's going on right now where a lot of my clients have come to me. I know another friend who's, I think every single client she's been working with for the last 2 years. These are people that are recovering memories and, that they were taken into programs. And this is like what happened for my generation, Gen X. Born in 76, went to school, grade school in the early 80s, mid 80s. And during that period of time, there were these tests, standardized tests that were administered by the state or by the federal government, by whatever. And they were like aptitude tests. There were these tests you would take and it would identify what your aptitude would be. So, you're like, mine always came out social work. And I was like, I don't want to be a social worker. And then number 2 was always science. And I was like, I could do science. But I ended up kind of like a social worker doing healing work anyways. So maybe these things are accurate. But in and among all of the questions were these, they were worded and phrased in such a way so as to create like pattern recognition, that if you answered in certain ways, it would identify that you were special, you were different. And, likewise, there were these programs in our schools that it was kind of like the smart kid classes, like the good students, you got good grades, you were above average in these standardized tests that you would take, then you might get invited into one of these programs. And I don't remember what the program was called when I was a little kid in Scottsdale, but when I was in middle school, I was in one of those programs. It was called EPP, Extended Projects Program. And it was just a bunch of kids. We'd split away for certain class periods and have different type of education, but sometimes we would take field trips. And this is where memories have begun coming in, and over this last year where I'm remembering that there were moments where we were taken, and me and maybe others, maybe all of them, I don't actually know that, it was definitely me, were taken into these programs, which is pretty crazy when we think about it. It doesn't make any kind of sense, because the hallmark of these programs is that they have a type of either like timeline technology or time and age regression technology, where when you get taken into these programs, you are taken. Literally, you could be off-world, you could be in an underground facility, you could be somewhere else, and trained in a number of different ways, including what we would call SRA, satanic ritual abuse. Because a lot of these programs are being operated by dark beings, dark people, dark beings with dark agendas. And what ends up happening, then you live out your life. It's like you've been abducted and you sit there and you play out this entire life, years of your life, not knowing, they often the whistleblowers will say that you were given a story that like the world just global nuclear war destroyed the world, or after you were taken, and so then that like creates a situation where you're not looking to go back, you're not trying to get back. And then comes a point in time where if you survive the whole thing, you might get returned and age regressed or taken timeline regression back into the moment where you disappeared and put back in that moment and mind wiped, no memory of the entire experience of all those 20 years or 10 years or whatever, however long it was. And so I've had memories of this coming back, which I'm grateful. I believe primarily, maybe it's grace, but also all of the work with the plant medicines that I've done over in South Africa they help to create disassociation from the trauma so that when the memory comes forward, you don't get re-traumatized by the experience. And so as I've had these memories come up, they're very intense in the moment. A lot of them have come up via breath work. One of them came up I woke up out of a lucid dream and was in a completely altered state. That was the first one. And the memories began flooding in, and it was really intense. And then, during doing breath work sessions, working my way through the chakra system, as she guides us through each chakra energy center and guided meditation, doing the breath work, it's like it opened up memories, and types of trauma specific to that energy center would flood through. So root chakra, second chakra, solar plexus, so it's been quite the journey, and explains quite a bit, actually. It really helps me to understand my life journey and life experience, and plugging in the pieces around what has seemed like trauma that I've experienced that I never experienced, was never abused by my family or molested or anything like that, and yet I carried the imprint of those types of energies in my body and in my field, and it never really made sense. Every time I would ask in plant medicine ceremony, hey, was I abused? Something terrible happened to me as a child? And it was always, nope, not like that. I'm like, huh. But it did. When these memories come through, there was quite intense stuff we don't need to get into. But anyhow, what I believe is happening right now is that there has been a release of the, I would probably describe it like the false light matrix, the kind of frequency control that has maintained a lid on these things. I believe that there's been some type of technology, some type of energy or a field that has been being broadcast that prevents people from being able to remember these things, and that seems to have been dismantled recently because like I said, I've quite a few people that I've come across whose these types of memories are coming forward, and this isn't something that you're trying to do to try to be cool. These are these aren't good memories, most of the time. So it's something has shifted and really seems to be in process right now to heal these things and recover these things. And that's something maybe you're also feeling, these types of experiences, Yeah. I had something come through the other day that I think was from Mars, where they talk about the spiders on Mars, these either they're arachnid, actual a massive arachnid beings, or it's AI technology, like spider drones, scary. But yeah, there was something that came through. I was driving, and this memory dropped in, or an insight connected, and so it's been kind of like that. So anyhow, maybe you're experiencing these kinds of things as well. Maybe you've got contact experiences in your past, something that unexplained, that you felt so weird and so different than what it looked like to your conscious awareness. Maybe these things are happening and unfolding for a lot of us right now. So anyhow, if that's happening and you feel like you would like some support, I might be able to support you or point you in the right direction. But regardless, it's such an amazing moment right now, and I wouldn't trade it. Those are, in spite of the intensity, that's information and energy that we really need to, in order to have the totality of our being expressing itself. We need all of our pieces retrieved. We need to soul retrieve, do some soul retrieval and pull some of those pieces back in. So, does that resonate with you? Let me know. Let me know what's going on in the comments. Enjoy the beautiful scenery of the Rio Grande, flowing through the Rio Grande Gorge on its way all the way down to the tip of Texas and the Gulf.